Everyone, today we're going to talk about E-2 visas for treaty investors. My name is Ruby Powers. I'm a board certified immigration attorney with Powers Law Group, and the firm is 16 years old, and I'm board certified, and it's a full service law practice. So let's go ahead and dive in. So what's going on? There hasn't been a lot of changes to the E-2 visa recently. There are different things going on with the State Department in general that could affect E-2 processing. But for the most part, it allows nationals of treaty countries to live and work in the U.S. There's a list of countries that the U.S. has a list that treaties with for E1 and E2. So make sure we're speaking about E2 on this particular situation. It remains very flexible for entrepreneurs, and it is an opportunity for individuals to be able to invest inside the United States. So this is an opportunity for a non-immigrant visa with unlimited renewals. But you need to make sure you meet the requirements. So really, the biggest step would be to make sure that you are an individual that is of the treaty a national of one of those of a country that has a treaty with the United States, and then we can continue to discuss. But if you aren't, maybe your spouse is, and there could be an opportunity to work that way. So we'll continue to go through the content. So who qualifies? So the applicant must be a citizen of that treaty country, like we mentioned, and then the investment is actively invested in a bona fide U.S. business. It's at risk. It's not just money in a bank account. You need to make sure that you you want to make sure that that individual is that investment is at risk, and you can show that it is actively being invested. You need to show that you have the intent to direct and develop the enterprise, and that you plan to return eventually back home. That you make a statement to that effect. You can have essential skill executive supervisor role employees as well that could qualify for an E2, not just the investor. It's not necessarily always a pathway to legal permanent residency because of the fact that it is a non-immigrant visa, but it is also an opportunity to be able to stay in the United States for quite a long time. And the other things that's really great about it is that it allows your spouse to work, which is there's not that many visas that allow the spouse to work. So there's 75 nations that have the treaty with the United States for this. So common countries that we think of might be Germany, Italy, Spain, France, Colombia, Argentina, Turkey. Uh, and Pakistan, for example, Mexico. And so these are some things to consider. Applicants should confirm that there's a treaty status before applying, and it's taking a look at that list. Now, let's go into a little bit more of a deeper dive. So there's the law does not set a fixed amount. A lot of people say, why, how much is it that I need to be able to invest? And I'm like, well, there isn't a number. There's some best practices, but we have to consider a lot of different factors. So these can be for smaller businesses around 100,000 to 150,000, larger, more like 500,000, but it's really proportional to the investment. So substantially is judged by the proportionality. The lower the cost of the business, the higher the percentage of personal investment required. But let's say it's a grocery store that's, I don't know, $1 million. You're going to want to be able to show that you're investing probably about like 90%, 80% of that. But if you don't cover the full amount, you're going to want to show that there's a payment plan to be able to cover the rest of those costs. But you're also going to want to show that you have enough funds for you to live, because you might not be making a profit for initially. So bona fide enterprise, entre, enterprise test, enterprise, sorry. um, to qualify, the business must be real, active, and profitable, or with a strong potential of being profitable, providing goods or services, Shell companies or speculative interests will be denied. So it can't just be like, oh, I have an LLC. No, with some money in the bank. That doesn't count. A business plan should demonstrate growth, job creation, sustainability, that you have a plan. Usually, we suggest hiring a business plan services that help guide you through how to best present your vision and your plan to USCIS or the consulate. And you have to also comply with state and local business requirements, whether you have licensing, the restaurant or childcare, whatever. You need to meet those requirements of licensing, registration, and taxes. A business plan is essential. Sometimes people do it on their own. Some people hire for help, but those are some things to consider. Then you also have how to apply. So you can apply inside the United States by doing a change of status, like let's say maybe a B1, B2 to an E-2. And so you'd file the I-129 and show that nationality, investment, the business plan, intent. So that could be a lot of supporting documents of leases, contracts, tax returns. The processing times can vary. There is premium processing at the time of this presentation, so keep an eye on that. If you apply abroad, then you're going to be presenting a DS-160 because it's a non-immigrant visa, and then you're going to be submitting the evidence the way the consulate, that particular consulate wants to see it. So, for example, they're going to probably want to see the business plan. A lot of different consulates have these requirements, like how many pages or the size of their PDFs or something like that. So everyone is very particular on what they want to see, so you have to know your consulate that you're going to be going through. And just recently they announced that if you're going to do a non-immigrant visa, you have to go through your country. So I think they're in effect getting rid of a lot of third country processing. So we're going to continue to monitor what that looks like. But when you do the DS-160, you pay the visa bills, you wait for the schedule, the visa fees, you wait for the visa appointment, and then you present your case. They've already reviewed a lot of the file, and it's up to you to help defend your business. So usually you're given about 2 years at a time, but it really just depends also on the reciprocity between your country and the United States. So sometimes it could be 5 years, for example, or maybe 1 year. Um, and so then you just have to keep renewing it on a regular and showing that the business is doing well and its growth, and be able to show those financials and taxes and so on and so forth. So these are things to consider, especially like also making sure your I-94 periods are in sync. Maybe they get a little on sync with family with their traveling at different times, but you want to keep an eye on this, as well as other things to consider are your family. So like I mentioned, spouse is allowed to work on if they're on an E-2. Unmarried children and under 21 may join as dependents as well as a spouse. The nationality does not need to match the investor. So they could have completely different citizenship that is not one that has a treaty with the United States for the E-2. Work authorization for a spouse and education. The children can go to school on the E-2, but you want to keep an eye on their age, because as soon as they are turning 21, they need to be on a different um, a visa or transferred over to something else. So this I've seen some people get this wrong, that they think that, oh, the parents have it for so many years that it's fine for the kids. No, as soon as the kid either gets married or turns 21, whichever one happens first, they're no longer a child and they're no longer a dependent anymore. So common types of the E-2, we've seen like restaurants or food trucks or consultancy, or IT services, professional services, childcare centers, dog grooming. We've done a lot of different types of E-2s, education. So it's exciting to see to help immigrants bring their business idea and venture here to the United States, and the idea of being able to help create jobs and to create commerce. So there can be some more USCIS scrutiny coming in the future. Global mobility trends. We're seeing um, some changes and I think we're going to continue to see how, if anything, the E-2s are being affected. I honestly haven't seen that much that's impacted them. So right now, I feel like there's been a lot more talk about everything else between asylum, detention, immigration, TPS, parole, that type of thing. So it's been a little bit silent over here. So I welcome that, and I hope that we'll continue to, to help individuals with the E-2 process. So you want to make sure that you avoid mistakes like underestimating the required investment amount, submitting incomplete documentation. You also need to be able to prove the source of funds, which is important. So like you just or inherited some money. Well, you need to be able to show where did that person get the money? Or if you have a whole bunch of money in your bank account, where did that money come from? Can you show that it was earned or it was a gift? Or so that is another thing that it's important to show. And some countries are less keen on having um, the paper trails, if we will. I mean, it's digital now, but than others, and so that can be a limiting factor. So it's important to talk to an immigration attorney early on in the journey, even if all it is to say, like, this is what I want to do. Is this feasible? What would it look like? And then maybe you go off for like, I don't know, 6 months, 4 or 5 months, and you're working on your plan. And then you come back and you're like, okay, I've got a lot of stuff. Let's start filing or preparing to file. So that's really what I see a lot of times is that there's like talk, strategy, go off and put things into work. There's like making the LLC or the entity and getting the tax ID number, making a bank account. A lot of that initial thing can take a couple of weeks to do. Um, but you really want to make sure you planned out your timing. Are you going to do it with USCIS? You're going to do it with this consulate, whichever other family you're going to be coming with you as well. And an immigration attorney who has experience with this can help guide you through that process. So keep records, document the stages, keep even your legal fees, the cost of running to start the business are part of your investment. So the more you document that, the better, and keep it organized. Hiring staff, keeping those records, keeping everything up to date. It's basically an open book. You're going to want to be showing a lot of this when you're either applying for the E-2 or doing renewals. So find out if you're eligible, choose a viable business idea. Maybe you want to buy one that you are interested in. Maybe you want to turn a hobby into a business. Maybe you want to invest in an existing business. You need to own at least 50% of it. So really do your due diligence and then make sure you can access the investment, secure the lawful funds. You can show where the funds came from, work together, get a business plan, have the growth and business documents well in advance, and definitely consult an immigration attorney. Like I said, consult with them, then go off and do the work, and then consult with them again before filing. So my name is Ruby Powers with Powers Law Group. Thanks so much for watching. You can find us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, and we do have a newsletter in English and Spanish every week, so definitely check that out. That concludes our E-2 Visa Secrets, how entrepreneurs can live and work in the United States. Thanks so much for watching. In the coming weeks, we have changes to naturalization, what to expect, and stay ready and stay safe, how to prepare for ICE check-ins. Again, my name is Ruby Powers with Powers Law Group. You can reach us at 713-589-2085 and also on our website at rubypowerslaw.com, rubypowerslaw.com. You can schedule a consultation there or give us a call or find us online. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.